Hello, everyone. Dana here from Mind Body Healthy Holistic Nutrition. I am a certified holistic nutrition consultant who specializes in helping busy, exhausted women overcome chronic fatigue from whether it's burnout or a post-viral fatigue situation, whether that's Epstein-Barr or COVID, such as one of those or something else. Help you get your energy back. So if you're determined to stop feeling so exhausted, if you're sick and tired of spinning your wheels with treatment after treatment after treatment that just doesn't seem to work, this is probably something that you want to pay attention to, because when I was battling my chronic fatigue for over 20 years, I was doing all of the treatments. I was doing everything I possibly could to fix my exhaustion, but nothing was working. And I know now why. It's because I was not looking at or addressing or regulating the underlying root causes of our chronic fatigue. So my chronic fatigue began after about a pneumonia when I was 12, and then I got mono at 15 and was diagnosed with Epstein-Barr chronic fatigue syndrome. I battled it for, like I said, almost 20 years, and it was a complete surprise and shock when I did finally get my energy back, because it'd been so long and nothing was working. I tried the supplements, energy boosting shakes, like supplement packages where you take a bunch of things in the morning, they all come from the same vendor. I was doing juice cleanses and detox diets and exercise programs and supplements, like I think I already said, and nothing was working. So today I want to talk about the 3 strategies that are so crucial to putting chronic fatigue syndrome into remission. And these strategies are really all about hitting the root cause of chronic fatigue syndrome. Chronic fatigue syndrome does initiate from a long-term unaddressed viral infection. It's generally related to Epstein-Barr virus. After Epstein-Barr has been frustrating you or causing a lot of fatigue for 3 or 4 months, then you get diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, which is technically an autoimmune disease. So, what are the 3 secret strategies that I used, that my clients use to overcome chronic fatigue and put it into remission long term? Let's get into it. So, first of all, the biggest, most effective strategy that worked for me, that really moved the needle fast, was getting to know what my own personal nutrition deficiencies and health imbalances were, and putting them together in a big picture view so that I could see which of those imbalances, which of those nutrients I needed to focus on first to get the most bang for my buck, let's say. So this is where we're talking about root cause. We need to know the root cause. We need to know that there is a couple of different imbalances in our body that then trigger other problems that cause more exhaustion. So in the case of chronic fatigue syndrome, I had this virus. I never got over it, it felt. I thought that I just needed to focus on immune boosting nutrients, eating healthy, exercising, because that, exercise is good for immunity, probiotics, zinc, vitamin C, all of these things. Wasn't working. So what I found when I finally did a personalized health assessment on myself was that I had hormonal imbalances, and it was those hormonal imbalances that were directly creating more inflammation in my body, which was then weakening my immune system. So no matter what I did, I was like fueling that immune system, but basically like filling a leaky tire with air all the time without fixing the leak. So the leak was my hormonal imbalances. I was also not refueling and supporting my stress response. Cortisol was a huge factor in my chronic fatigue syndrome where I felt burnt out, shaky, couldn't get out of bed in the morning. A lot of that is related to cortisol dysregulation or poor stress response. But before I had been dealing with, or before I got into holistic nutrition, I wasn't doing anything to actively support my stress response. I was resting, I was taking time for me, I was reading, I was watching funny TV shows, but it wasn't refueling my stress response. And that was a key strategy. I needed to really hone in on those adrenals and that whole entire stress response and make sure that I was giving my stress response everything I could possibly do to ensure that it was becoming stronger, more resilient, able to keep up with the stress in my life, because stress wasn't going to go away. So really had to focus on my stress and my hormones. I also had to, of course, reduce that inflammation that was keeping my immune system really weak. So once I got the stress response kind of under control, that really helped to dampen the inflammation. I still had inflammation coming in through some choices in my life, toxins in my personal care and household cleaners, foods that I was eating like grains and dairy, even a little bit would trigger my inflammation and weaken my immune system. I remember actually thinking this and realizing this years ago when I would go out with some friends to like the local corner store and buy a chocolate bar on occasion, like a O. Henry bar or a Mars bar. And I'd look at that and I'd be like, that's gonna not make me feel good after. And I didn't understand why at the time, but I had a very strong inflammatory response to refined sugar, even back then, ever since I was like fairly young, early teens, as far as I can remember. But I kept eating it. And every time I would have that chocolate bar, it would trigger so much inflammation in me that I was exhausted. Like just my eyes wouldn't stay open, my head hurt, my temples were just pounding. I slept terribly. I would get insomnia. My joints ached, my muscles ached. I had no endurance. I couldn't think. My brain was all foggy. Just all of these things were happening to me. And I still kept eating those stupid chocolate bars, even though they had a very obvious inflammatory response. Then fast forward to when I did my personal health assessment and my holistic nutrition assessment, I discovered that there were foods that I didn't even realize were creating a very similar yet on a lower scale inflammatory response in my body. So some of those were vegetable oils like safflower or sunflower oil that at one point I had heard were healthy. They were not. They were creating more inflammation. Every time I ate them, even in small amounts, it would spike my inflammation. It would stay high. That would then impact my stress response, depleting it of nutrients, creating less resiliency, making it weaker. And I would become exhausted. I would crash. I would feel burnt out. I would be like in my chronic fatigue funk, spiraling into that deep, dark hole of what I call despair and just depression, just black, not wanting to do anything, zero motivation, not happy with life. So once I realized that there were these triggers to my inflammation and that I really had to be conscious of removing these triggers, because every time I would have even a little bit, there went the inflammation. So strengthening my stress response, refueling my stress response, reducing the inflammation. Together, these two things are part of what I call the fatigue cycle, because when you have chronic inflammation, triggers stress. Stress and cortisol, exhausted, crashing, spiraling, flaring, whatever you want to call it, you are in your fatigue cycle right now, and we have to break that. The third thing that is so important when it comes to overcoming chronic fatigue is holistic support of all of your nutrient gaps. What does your body actually need? There are so many lists and blogs and forums and advice pieces and magazine articles out there on what are energy boosting nutrients or immune boosting nutrients or adrenal support nutrients. But what do you need? because it doesn't do you any good to take something you don't need. And it doesn't do you any good to take something based on an article that actually creates further nutrient deficiencies or triggers more inflammation or stress. And so many of the nutrients that I see in these articles and on these blogs have a very high potential of creating further nutrient gaps in someone with chronic fatigue syndrome or post-viral fatigue or burnout. So you really do need to know what your body needs. So once we refuel what your body needs, that also helps tame the stress response and helps reduce inflammation. And gives your mitochondria, which make 90% of your energy, everything they need to increase the energy, make you feel amazing. So once you have the fatigue cycle broken, your nutrient gaps refueled, your stress response resilient, and you've restored the health and response and production of your mitochondria, your energy production powerhouses, that's when you start to feel clear-headed. You start to feel like excited for life, motivated, happy. You get home from work and you have energy to burn and you want to go play with your kids. You wake up refreshed in the morning and feel amazing. You are focused at work and you're like pumping out so many amazing reports and emails and guidances and whatever it is you do, that you are getting promotion after promotion. You are excited when someone spontaneously invites you out for some dinner or drinks. You get to join workshops, fitness classes, and start doing things that you love to do. You get back your spice for life with your partner. Life is just so much more. It's free. It's freeing. It's liberating. It's blissful. It's just magic. And so if you are battling chronic fatigue syndrome and you feel like you're spinning your wheels and you're getting all this like superficial nonsense advice, like take these 5 supplements or focus only on antivirals or this adaptogen will fix everything, it's time to take a step back, take a deep breath, and realize that you are a unique woman. You have unique health imbalances, nutrient needs. And in order to help you get on the path that's right for you and your body, you need a personalized health assessment. You need a gap analysis in what you're doing now to bridge the gap between there and where you want to be, which is high energy, clear mind, quick thinking, fun with your kids, adventure. And we can do that together. If you are interested in getting a gap analysis done with me, going through an 85-point whole body nutrient and health and hormone and everything assessment to ensure that we are getting at the root cause and finding what your body needs, let me know. I offer a one-on-one consult, the assessment consultation with me to get your questions answered, to get my feedback on the assessment so that I can give you personalized, clear direction on what to do next to get you towards your goals faster. Often within, depending on the action you take, 4 to 6 months down the road. You can get from zero energy today to like magnificent amounts of energy where you feel like life is amazing in 4 to 6 months when you have clear direction. My clients are doing it. I can do it. I don't crash anymore, but if I happen to have a major stressor in my life and I do crash, it's for hours instead of months like it used to be before I had all this figured out. So if you're curious, if you'd like to get in on this, message me, check out my website. I prefer email for this one. It's just ask for the gap analysis. Say, I'm curious to know more about the gap analysis. And I will actually post a link in the comments below this video when it's posted so that you can just book yourself in if this is something you're interested in. Hope to talk with you soon.